Well, it's the episode I've sort of been dreading. Tater! Ha! But it has to happen. If you start a rant, you gotta be a man. You gotta suck it up, and you gotta finish what you started. Booty. Oh man. Oh man! We're talking pirate today. Yes, pirate. It's quite the language. It's filled with piratey pirateness, and that's really all I have to say about pirate speech. I hope that fart noise at the end really brought up the quality of this particular episode, because not much else I can say. So, excuse me. I have notes. I normally don't have notes. I don't like notes. I don't like writing stuff down, but this review requires a little bit of oversight so that I address the points that yesterday I said I would address. Also, I forgot to throw this thing away. But considering the circumstances, I'll just stuff it into my oven. You know, because that's where you put your things. I forgot to sleep. Get on deck. Lovely. Anyway, so let's start out. Numerical scores. So, numerical scores are something weird. I am on the fence on if you can do them or not. But here's the problem. Numerical scores work if there is a clear distinction between what the minimum and the maximum is, and you can grasp a concept of average. However, if someone says a game has a 6 or a 5, people are like, oh man, it's probably very bad. That is a problem. If an average score isn't good, your grading system is bad. If I can pass a class with a 6, then obviously I did good. I didn't do negative. I probably didn't do excellent, but I did good enough. It's good enough. A 6 should get you through as a game that you might want to consider purchasing someday. Oh man, I am not actually in the mood for this whole big chitter-chatter stuff, so excuse me if things go a little bit awry. Like, really sorry, but I don't like talking too much. So yeah, the problem with numerical grading scores is they don't explain anything. For the most part, people say, oh well, it's a 10 out of 10. Of what? A 10 out of 10 out of what? What does it do for me? What does that 10 do for me? Is it a perfect game for who? The music's good, yeah, but what kind of music am I listening to? Is this music I'd enjoy? No, because it's opinion, you fuck. You can't grade something with a number if it's incredibly up to personal experience and speculation, so that's really... The problem with numerical scores is you can use them for sake of categorization, but you can only apply them to a specific game type or author. You can't say that the 6 of Jim, Jim Sterling, is equal to the 6 that Yahtzee will hand out. You can say the same about anyone. 6s between critics does not necessarily add up to, the same 6. So yeah, kind of a problem. It's dark over there. Or is this just me? Oh man, this tunnel went a little bit deeper than it should have. Hype versus authenticity. Okay, so this is something I forgot what it actually meant. This is why I should make notes better. When people release a new game, the first thing you'll see is that every single review is this sort of, let's get everything out there as soon as we can. We've got a review, the embargo is gone, let's go. Here's the problem. You never get the sensation they actually sat down, looked at their review, and went, Because with any experience, there's this big problem that you're stuck in an emotion. You are stuck in the moment. A specific experience has grasped your attention. This is, of course, the subjectivity issue, but it's slightly different. Here, man, I'm getting it hot. Ugh. Yes, it's subjective, but you should not write a review when your emotions are tainted by something else. Equally, you should not write a review when you've just finished a horrible portion of the game. You should write a review in reflection. You should sit down and go, okay, what did actually happen? What did I enjoy? Why did I enjoy it? Who else would enjoy this? And now you're entering the horrible realm of self-reflection, which is a spooky place with spooky wheels. And nobody likes that place because there's spooky wheels everywhere. And crazy clocks. Let's not forget the crazy clocks. Those things are mad. Those things are nuts. Whew. Man, I'm already out of breath. I've already ranted yesterday, and very exhausting to rant, mind you. Actually, talking very loudly, not a healthy thing. Okay, let's go to working outside your field, because I want to get off with this list as soon as I can, so that I can talk about things that make me happy, instead of having to talk negatively about the fact that everyone's a fucking cunt-blowing idiot. Except, not everyone. There are people out there who are realizing, wait, the way I'm doing stuff is not so good. I'm promoting false, opinions, which is kind of weird, but they're all false opinions which are purchased, which I'll get to in a moment. Okay, let's go on. If you like... here's the thing. If you know movie reviewers. Like, movie reviewers are like, oh, I really like action movies. Great, you love action movies. What do I buy with that? Nothing. But it does tell you that that person probably won't understand the nuances of a more artistic movie. Or maybe of a movie that's all about the singing and the dancing and the happy-go-lucky adventure time. And that's a problem. I never really see reviewers say, okay, I'm only really good with this one thing. I'm not the master of reviewing, but I really like action games. I can tell you... Like Azurite Reaction, that guy can tell you exactly what makes a good rhythm game. He understands, even if he doesn't do it well, he knows, well, okay, this is how it works, and this is the rhythm game, and yes, it works. It does what it's supposed to do well. He'll tell you that. And that's good. That's a good method of reviewing, is even if you're working in the field, but you're also working outside of your field because of all the vaguenesses, he understands the complexities of everything. And that's what I never see, is a reviewer saying, okay, I review Call of Duty all the time, but I think it's a great idea that I review the Stanley Parable. Fuck you, it's not. If you play COD, you'll never understand the nuances of the Stanley Parable on your first go. You can. I'm not saying you can't. You can review something that's outside your field. But it requires an incredible deal of self-reflection and learning to understand how to critique it, where the attention truly lies, where the important tidbits are, and why you shouldn't bust it down on other parts. Wait, what? Oh, that's kind of weird. A rock and a stone. Someone did not call the consistency department. And that's kind of a problem, yes, you can. But there's a reason you'll never see a Metallica fan review an opera, is because he doesn't understand the nuances, and odds are he doesn't want to learn the nuances because it's not what he enjoys doing. Equally, I never want to see a COD fan review fucking Minecraft or Terraria, because to them the games seem alike, because for all intents and purposes, they share a lot of common elements. In a broad, grand picture, you can draw parallels. To someone who doesn't understand the nuances of the genre of that field, it is incredibly difficult to establish a difference between the two. Why do people say, oh, it's just Minecraft? Is because it's not their field. They don't like this particular genre, they don't understand it, and because of that, they can't make a sound judgment on whatever it's really a Minecraft clone, or it looks like Minecraft, but it totally is a different experience at the end of the day. Whew. Oh, my throat, it's so dry. Like breezy dry, not choky dry. AAA games, okay. Here's something weird. AAA games buy scores. That is something you cannot deny. They offer reviewers a star-sprangled game version that is spit and polished all the way to Kingdom Come and back. And that's a problem. You, as a reviewer, should never review a copy you were given. Well, I'm not saying that you shouldn't review it, but what you should do is, if you can, visit a friend and ask them, okay, so what was your experience with the game? Because the one thing the reviewers always seem to do is they play it once. They never go back. They never ask other people about it. That's bad. You can watch a movie once and say if it's good or bad. Maybe you watch it again, just to make sure that your opinion's actually right. But games are transformative. Everyone has a different experience, except with things like Beyond Two Souls and the Stanley Parable. Actually, the Stanley Parable is a lot better than Beyond Two Souls, because at least there's the transformative work in the sense that the guy will narrate exactly what you're doing, so you have a different experience as to what his personality is compared to you. But the 8-game aside, which, by the way, I would totally buy the DLC of, what is with the gravel? I'm trying to rant here, gravel. What are you called in pirate speak? Rubble. That's all you are. Debris. So, the AAA gaming market has established people like graphics, people like music, people like the same, and, people are fucking stupid. That's bad. The AAA gaming market is a strange one because it's where the budgets are, and I like this particular saying, once you spend $200 million on a movie, you've got to save the world. I get the sensation that's what's going on in the AAA market is, once you spend this much money, it's got to look like a star-spangled copy, and everyone reviewing it is getting $50,000 to say this game is the best, or we're fucked. AAA games always say, oh, well, we're doing great. Like, they say so much about, our Metacritic score is amazing. Doesn't matter. The Metacritic score is just a bunch of schmucks saying what they think about your game. It's not the actual score of it. If the developers say, well, it's a good game, it's just that the people who review it are working outside of their field, great. You've just established the root of the problem. Your game isn't bad, it's just that the people who reviewed it aren't, understanding the nuances, as I said before. I'm not saying that your game can't absolutely be shit, don't get me wrong. There are games that are complete and utter crap. But there is a point where you, as the developer, have to understand that Metacritic scores are nothing but an arbitrary value assigned to an incredibly transformative product, meaning absolutely jack shit to how much effort you actually put in. A game can have taken 2 hours and probably doesn't have anything good going on, and it can get a Metacritic score of 100 because of fucking corruption and cheating. So don't think that a Metacritic score masters anything. If anything, you should take the score of the people who are like, you know what, I'm not no, you can't be a professional critic, because professional criticism is important because it allows for a steady stream of revenue and allows you to understand characters, and from that derive how they will particularly judge particular aspects of games, as in, I understand that Jim Sterling will be incredibly upset about things like on DLC, but that's another thing, is you gotta separate elements, but that is where I'm gonna go to next. Thing is, there's so much going on in the AAA industry, I think it's going to choke because it doesn't understand what it needs to do compared to what reviewers want it to do. Tip, never listen to reviewers. Their job is to point out where things go right and wrong. Their job is not to say how it could have been better. If they did that, then they were quality assurance managers, and they probably should be working for you. Just in case you didn't catch on to that part. Now, I'm not saying that reviewers shouldn't give advice on how something could have been better. That is probably a good way, but most AAA studios probably don't listen because their creative decisions are made by third-party investors, etc. So there's nothing they can do about it regardless. What I'm trying to say is that a reviewer's primary job is to inform the public on whether or not something is good or bad for purchase within a particular field. Is it something first-person shooter fans should buy? Yes, no. Come to the conclusion, and don't forget to include why you said that. Well, I think Doom 3 should not be bought by Doom fans because it completely abandons the original Doom philosophy. It's no longer a fast-paced action game. Well, it still is in some regards, but for the most part it focuses on slow, low enemy encounter scenarios with enclosed spaces and does everything that Doom didn't. Because of that, including with the weird ammo capacity counter, no shared ammo limits, and the lack of a proper BFG early on, compared with the fact that most enemies are just completely disappointing and take hours to appear, giving them weaknesses and making the overall combat experience entirely dependent on the high amount of damage instead of the player interactions, I think that Doom 3 should only be bought by the people who want to see where in hell ID Software's heading off to. Another drink. Interconnective argument. Okay. My arm hurts. It's in my left arm and my shoulder. Oh, damn it, it's night. Have I been? Yes, I have been. But I'm going to go to this. The lack of interconnective arguments. This one's a daisy. This one is a dizzy-making one. Can you judge a piece of art entirely on its own? Or do you have to involve other pieces? This is a question I cannot answer, but I can provide insight at the very least. COD has been the same for a while now. There are very few people who will disagree that, in the overall sense, COD has become a franchise based on COD clones. I don't understand the nuances because it's not my field. That's alright. That doesn't mean that I'm disqualified from the situation. It just means that my opinion needs to be taken with a grain of salt by people who do understand the nuances of the game. Here's the problem. At some point, you're going to have to say, I don't think you should buy Ghosts, because Ghosts is a lot like previous God installments. You will get a similar experience, but it's just too similar. Or, I think that Ghosts truly improved on the original COD formula, and brought out new and interesting and exciting ideas that originally were forgoed for the sake of, well, whatever. Essentially, at some point you have to draw the line, am I going to review this as an alone-standing piece of work, or am I going to involve previous, future, or contemporary installments to decide whether you should buy it? Imagine that Mortal Kombat releases exactly at the same time as a Street Fighter version. The games are remarkably similar, and there are nuances between the two. However, a Mortal Kombat fan says, you know what, they're very similar, but I get the sensation that Mortal Kombat has abandoned its roots in this sense and is becoming more like Street Fighter, containing unlockable DLC characters and all sorts of wacky things. Now, while I would out of nostalgia's sake say that Mortal Kombat New is pretty much good for the Mortal Kombat fan, I would suggest getting the Street Fighter game because of, as much as I'd say Mortal Kombat is a good idea to get right now, it just doesn't do the job. You never see that. I've never seen a review say, well, you could buy this game, but you should actually buy this other game that's also being released right about now. And that's the thing. I don't often enough see reviewers say, you could buy this, but there's this other thing you should know. They never involve the interconnective arguments. Is the prequel any good? Is the sequel any better? Is the DLC able to extend the lifetime? Because I don't ever see... No, actually, I guess that most reviews are written around the time. Again, speed versus, hype involvement is at some point you're going to have to step back because things might come out, patches might come out that fix a whole bunch of problems, and then you can write an official review, because you should never write a review on the first version of something, especially in the AAA industry where everyone releases bug-riddled pieces of shit. But that aside. Okay. I see why Yahtzee makes heavily segmented 5-minute videos of this bullshit. And my gym does the same thing. This is exhausting, and it hurts my arm. My oxygen levels are not what they're supposed to be, because my aorta is creeping out. I'm going to take a $5. So the interconnective argument, essentially... the thing is, this is really something you have to decide for yourself. If you're going to involve other products of either contemporary nature or of related nature and say this or that. You're a reviewer. Your job is not to assess the quality of a product. Your job is to say to someone, should you buy it? Experience. I'll get to that. The thing is, movie critics sometimes say, oh, this movie was just awful. I give it a 1 out of 10. But you should totally go see it because it's so bad, it's great. I have never seen a video game review say that because they always end with 1 out of 10. Should not buy. Why not? You already talked extensively in your review about how it's comically hilarious, how everything goes through everybody. You talked extensively about the Mother Queen exploding into millions of giblets and becoming the epiphany of just comic relief. And you're telling me not to buy this? Why? I know this is money spent to a product that doesn't deserve it, but at some point you have to put your own experience of just giggling out over the quality of something, So that's the interconnective argument, but now to experience. This is a point that I actually have another argument to put after this, but we're already entering the next day. We're going to pretend it's not day yet. So, here's a problem. Video games or interactive experiences have one particular thing in common. You have the video games, which are about interactivity, and there are interactive experiences, which are about the graphics, the storytelling, the writing, the audio, or the... no, I already said the graphics, so I'm done with my list. I've never seen anyone make that clear distinction. When people review stuff, they're always like, oh, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. No, bad. You see, the thing... How do I even put this? I don't know where to start with this, because it's such a vague and incorporeal subject. I need to think on this for a couple of seconds. Here's the thing. Video games and interactive... Like, what would happen if you judged the Stanley Parable on the same level as you would judge Doom? You'd get an outrage because you're doing it wrong. Verifiably so. I didn't even hear that guy, despite the gravelly road. I don't even care. Goddamn creepers. I need to fix those creepers. Tree blew up. My tree blew up. Blew up. Oh wait, I'm not jibber jabbering. I'm actually holding conversation. When you play a video game, you're playing it for an experience. Orb. Here's something I never hear anyone talk about is video games are not works of art. They are not radio shows. A video game in its core concept is an experience. Why did they not do this? They can do that. You can do that now. Why didn't they tell the developers that they developed something that could do that? Video games are interactive experiences, which makes them transformative. I've already talked about this. But here's something else. God, I forget this! What am I trying to say? This music is so distracting because I've never heard it before. You cannot judge Doom on the same principles as the Stanley Parable, as the same principles of some sort of hidden image, picture, or puzzle games, because they're different experiences. Games do not necessarily deliver an action-packed experience. Games deliver an experience. At the end of the day, the true quality of a game comes down to the experience it manages to deliver. Are you satisfied? Have you played something, and at the end of which have you said, I am satisfied? Go away, music. Go away. Because that is what I never hear. What I never hear is, was this a satisfying experience? At the end of the day, did I feel that I have accomplished something, that I have learned something, that I felt something? Do I feel that at the end of the day, does it still record when I turn off? I don't even know. Wait, what? Oh, that's so cool. Crewmates, friendly critters, scurvy critters. Scurvy is just a disease. I don't know. But, back to business. Oh, man, I can't focus anymore. Too much rant in too little time. It is getting on my nervesies. Video games are experiences, which is why... This is just the thing. Interactive experiences can be anything. They can be anything. Anything. They can be a book that you click through. They can be you listening to music while some fancy graphics play that correspond to the music. The electronic medium has opened a world of possibilities in which things can happen. And here's the thing, you cannot judge them on the same principles. Would you judge you surviving on an island, not certain if you're going to live the next day, on the same premise you're going to judge a visit to a nice cafe? If you do, you are exactly what's wrong with the video game industry. We're judging video games as works of art, as electronic set pieces, instead of as a method by which to deliver an experience. Minecraft is exciting because it's our world. We are masters of this world. Or perhaps we are just scurrying around like little rats trying to survive and create a world or place we call our own. Terraria is a world where you are a hero of great might, strength, and agility, who fights his way around dangerous foes and does what he can, using potions, cunning, skill, and construction to slay the most powerful foes that in a straight, brawl would obviously win. And then you have the Stanley Parable, which delivers a narrative experience. The idea isn't some dumb, shitty, or retarded principle of you running around, putting your sword in people's faces. No, the principle of this story, of the Stanley Parable, is to deliver that at the end of it you're like, that was something. I feel that something has happened, and it was an enriching something. It showed me something. It taught me something about storytelling, or I just had a blast. I had some experience. I didn't feel like I wasted money and just sat there for 5 minutes looking at a screen waiting for things to happen. Instead, I listened. I entertained. I had an experience of some sort, an entertaining experience, because that is what an interactive experience is supposed to do: entertain, enlighten, envision, bring something to the table that makes people do stuff with their brain that isn't just sitting there passively. The one thing video games have over all the other mediums, over movies, is you can be involved in it. The Stanley Parable isn't a movie because you can demand that he says certain things by playing the 8 game, which still totally buy the DLC. Man, there's someone crying really loudly outside. But you can't do that in a movie. You can't make Stanley Parable the movie because Stanley Parable... Why can't Stanley Parable be a movie? Because there's an interactive element that completely changes how it functions. Without it, the Stanley Parable would be bad. It would be a very bad movie. Or a slightly self-reflective one. But not a great one. The Stanley Parable would be a very dumb movie, but it would be a great game, because the interactive element is what enriches and makes the experience so powerful. But you cannot say that Stanley Parable has fantastic graphics. You can't say that Stanley Parable's gameplay or controls are amazing. They're average. They're 6s. And yet, when you've played the Stanley Parable, you're like, this game gets a 10 out of 10. And then you look at your score sheet and you're like, holy fucking shit, I'm never going to get the scores necessary to actually give it a 10 out of 10, because this score sheet is wrong at its fundamental level. And that is my biggest problem with reviews. Is there's corruption going on, people are judging things on the wrong premises, everything is going through everybody, and nobody knows what to do with it. And everyone is judging things as requiring some advanced action pack, but at the end of the day, the real thing that video games, that action adventures, that electronic medium has over the video medium, the radio medium, the story medium is... Actually, I think the books got very close with Choose Your Own Adventure, but you can be immersed in it. You can be immersed in an experience because you're pushing buttons and you see things happen in accordance and you're drawn in and the experience becomes so more vivid. The Oculus Rift amplifies this. It's an experience, not you reading a book, not you listening to music. It is you becoming what you are doing. I don't know how to put it. I don't have a fancy dictionary to help me out with this stuff. Nor do I have writers. I wish I had writers. Except that I don't. I am a writer. Aren't trees always supposed to... I guess they don't transfer the information then. But yeah, and that's what makes it so problematic, is every game is a different experience. It tries to convey a different message, so you can never judge the same game on the same premises, unless they're, you know, on similar levels of some sort, but then you have to argument that. That's another thing I never see, is I never see video game reviewers say, oh, why do you think that? Why is it this and not that? They do say, oh, well, the controls were good because you clickety-clack and you clickety-clook, but I never get the sensation they're actually answering the question, does this all contribute to a good and interesting experience, and does this experience worth itself in money? Because people say, oh man, a game's too short. It doesn't have to be long. If a game is 10 minutes long, but it leaves you aghast about what just happened, kudos. That game is worth $1 million fucking bucks, because that's never going to happen in real life, you fucker. Are you ever going to go in real life, slay a dragon, and feel enlightened by it? No. So when a video game treats you to that experience and you feel like it actually happened, kudos. You just bought a product that was worth your time and effort in a way that no movie, book, or, you know, thing could ever be. And that's the final point. Is we're judging video games as books. They need to live up to certain quota of quality. They don't. At the end of the day, all a video game or interactive experience needs to deliver is that you felt like you did something and it enriched you. It entertained you. It enlightened you. It made you think. It made you giggle. It made you smile. It made you cry. It brought out an emotion of some sorts. The emotion of relief. The emotion of satisfaction. If a video game doesn't do that, it's not a good video game. If an interactive experience doesn't do that, it's a fucking book that should never have been written. Oh man, I am never going to do this again. The next Minecraft episode is just going to be me not talking at all unless I feel like it, because I am exhausted. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, come ahead. Here's the thing. What I said about reviews may not necessarily be true. But unlike most reviewers, I have brought arguments to the table why I might be right. Nobody currently is explaining why the current broken model is supposed to stay. Well, because it's No. Convenience should never be the answer to that question, because convenience continues and prospers the prospect that it is working, which it is not. It needs to be fixed. So, if you have any questions, any comments, anything else to say, there's a comment section below. I do like to talk to people, and I will treat you with proper respect and the benefit of the doubt. If you're going to say something that is incredibly brief and concise, that is just, shut up you fag, you don't understand, please enlighten me. Don't just stick to one sentence, because one sentence rarely ever shuts everything up. One sentences lead to platitudes, which are bad. The same platitudes that are currently propagating the review model. Now, I can't fix this. There is no way that I personally can fix the current problems with the review system because I'm not a professional reviewer, nor do I have the experience in the field to do so. So just think about it. Ask questions. Stop sitting on your lazy ass and expect everything to come to you. Everything in the world is currently broken and needs fixing. And if you want to get some experience on how to fix things, start with something simple. The American political system is broken. The way the economy works is really, really broken. But those are big problems, so start with something small. Start by understanding, how can I change the way that people review an interactive experience, a new medium on the rise that no one really seems to understand because everyone's looking at it from the wrong angle. How about I think about it, establish my own angle, give some arguments for it, defend it, and see if I can get somewhere. And once you've been through that process, you'll understand how you can change bigger things. Like, I don't know, why your boss is a fucking asshole about things. I am going to die now, because my oxygen level is below 0. I'll see you guys next time. This has been way too long. This should have been a 3-parter. But I am so methodic that I could not write another sheet of notes for the next time, so instead here is the final end of the episode as we ascend above the clouds like angels.